Hello guys, welcome back to my video. So today we're back at making the crafting system inside Unreal Engine. So this episode of making a survival game in Unreal Engine, we're gonna continue on making the crafting system. Last time we left off, we made the crafting UI. What's not complete? It shows the crafting button doesn't do anything, but it shows the full list of all the craftable items, and it shows what the icon and the name. So now we're gonna add the requirements, and hopefully we'll be able to finish the whole crafting system. So let's start by opening the recipe underscore widget that we created last episode. Here it shows the everything over here. There is an expandable area. I'm gonna set it as expanded so we can see inside, and there's like a button inside over here. Yes. So now there's like a button inside a vertical box. We need to make a box, a grid box, I think. Yes, that contains all the requirements, like this over here. You can't see it over here because how small it is. When you expand this, it will show all the list of all the items required to craft the item itself. So right now we don't have a way to show that. Right now we have the slot widget, but the problem is that it's a button. If you try to click on it, it will if I try to place it over here and I clicked on it, it might break stuff. So instead I'm gonna close this. Let me compile and save before we continue on, and right click on the slot widget and duplicate that. I'm gonna call this slot display widget. That's it, like this, and I have to replace the button with something else. Let me replace with an image or border. It doesn't show. Or let's put a like anything like a grid panel. Right now I'm gonna add. Okay, what have I done? Yes, it's correct. Now let me try to fix this by adding a border inside. Border. I type search in border over here, and then place this inside this. So now I can just move the vertical box that contains everything inside the border, and I have to delete this. How you can delete this by like holding the border we put that has all this stuff inside. Control X. You see some of this warnings. Don't worry about this. Just delete this. Delete the slot button, and add and like paste the same thing we just deleted. So now we have like a display for the items over here. It's no longer a button, and now once we compile it shows like a billion errors. So let me fix all of these. I'm gonna show you how. Over here on clicked slot button, we don't need this entire thing. Since we deleted the button, we don't need this. It's just for displaying right now. We compile again, still shows error. You click on this target again. It's gonna zoom into this, and set this to the target for item display name. Yes, this thing should have the item icon. Now we compile, doesn't show error over here. Now let's do this top thing. This is the same thing. We put since it said the brush over here, we're gonna do the same thing over here. Drag this item icon into this target, and item display name over here. Now if I compile, everything should work. And now we make a slight changes to the thing over here. So instead of doing slot index and whatever we want to call it over here, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna delete this and replace the name and attach the slot index over here. Rename the slot index to item ID. That's all. And this, we delete this, we don't need that. And instead we have to check if the item exists. So we do There is something called does data table row exists over here. This checks whether a data table exists or not. We do this, dash this back over here, convert this item ID to string, and this will be converted into name, so that it would work. And we choose not the recipe list, the item list, because right now we want to display the items required. So better to it's just how it works like this. So if you accidentally add an item that doesn't exist, it would like make things blank over here. And compile, and now we compile and save. And now we need to place this inside the recipe widget. So we won't place it manually. We have to like place it one by one. I mean, we do it automatically. I didn't mean to say one by one. So let's see over here. This is inside the recipe widget, and as you can see here, when the recipe widget is created, it checks the recipe ID and displays the name and the icon of the result things, the result items for the crafting. So we continue on from here. We need to do a for loop, or first, before we do for loop, let me grab something from here. Items required, we do get. Actually no, what was the variable name called? We go get the keys over here and do it like this. We from this item required, we get keys and do for each loop. For each loop, we create a widget. Create widget, and then we set this to slot display. The item ID is the element. So this is basically like a list of the items required for crafting, and goes here, and it will display each and every one of these items into the recipe widget. So now let me go grab the grid panel and change this to is variable. The grid panel, the thing that we just added earlier, the thing we just added before. So we call this required items grid. You can call that so that we won't get confused. And bring this over here. Wait, let me remove this. I forgot to remove this inventory wrap because it's not necessary anymore. So we go back to the slot display and remove all this not unnecessary stuff. We remove inventory copy and inventory ref. And also this drop menu open, we don't need that. Now we have a much simpler variables. We have less variables right now. Compile over here. This is annoying, so let me reset to default value. It fixes it. I'm gonna do add child, or add child to grid, much better. Yes, like this. So now we have to find a way to add them in like a grid, so that if there is like too much in one row, it goes to the next row. First of all, before we do that, let me see how many can we fit in a single row. We do slot over here, slot widget, and place these items inside. Control C, Control V, Control V. Just place like a bunch of them over here. Let me organize this so that it centers the icons. And I've placed the wrong slot. It should be the slot display, not the regular slots. Here, it's practically the same size, but still it's better to place this better. I'm gonna place like 4 in each row, but as you can see, there's literally no space between each item, so it's gonna look ugly. So in order to fix that, you go to the slot display and click on the vertical box and add like a padding, or not vertical box. No. It's inside the border, I think. Yes, here over here. We add a padding of 5 over here. Now when I play, there is like space between them, but I don't know why the first one is a bit broken. Maybe because I just duplicate. I guess it didn't update. So let me delete this and do another paste over here and go back like this. Now it's fixed. As you can see over here, showing properly. Now let's delete all of these widgets. We don't need to place them manually. We'll place them like this. So in order to arrange everything properly inside the grid, we need to do this. We get the array index, divide that by the amount of items in a single row. So we want 4 slots for every row. So we type in 4 over here and attach this to in row, and then take the array index again. Whoops! Take that and do modulo 4. That's modulo just gets the remainder and places it in the column over here. So now this should do the trick. So I made a recipe of cam that is basically an unrealistic recipe. It has like a bunch of stuff inside. As you can see here, it's working over here. So as I go down, here's the unrealistic recipe over here. As you can see, it requires so many items, and once it reaches to 4 items, it goes down. Now we just shown every single item that is required. We now need to show the amounts that it requires. So as you can see, for each recipe, there's the ID of the recipe and how much you need to craft. So we need to modify this slot display widget. So we need to create well, actually, let me remove this border. We don't actually need this border. I'm gonna make this slightly transparent in black color. Or let me see which color is the best. I think this color is better. It's just that the text is black. Let me switch this to white, and now if I play right now, as you can see, it looks better. It looks much better. Now it needs to show the amount. I'm gonna show the amount above over here, or one of the corners. So let me see over here. We need a text block. Text. Oops, spelling mistake. And I can place it under here. So I'm gonna place this in the vertical box. Or nope, that doesn't work. We need to bring out the canvas panel inside the vertical box. Right now it takes some space for some reason. We send this to the top like that. Now there's a canvas panel over here. We can just bring a text block over here, paste it inside the canvas panel. It looks a bit huge, but we're gonna fix it. Whoops, what did I do? Let me put this back and select this text block. The problem is if I try to move it anywhere, the bottom part changes size. Let me try to change this, the font size to be 8, or yes, 8 is good. I'm gonna do times 16 or something like that. Shrink it, and the problem is that the whole bottom area is, scales with it. So I'm gonna put this at the center over here, like that. And let me see, does it look good in the game? Something like this. Let me try, and it's a bit small. And I'm gonna increase the size to 16, and let's see, does it look good? Let's see, it's kind of off, but you know what? I'm gonna make this right aligned like this. It's much better. Over here, perfect. Now we made this. This is showing much better. So I'm gonna move it slightly this way, and this is good enough. Yes, this is all good enough. So if you, as you can see, some items looks a bit stretched, like this apple icon is a bit stretched, and we need to fix that. So in order to do that, you click on the size box that is the parent of the icon, and set the alignment to center in both vertical and horizontal. As you can see, it became small. Enable these so you can set the size, and type in 64 by 64. Now it's all perfectly sized. As you can see, all of them have the same size. See, all of them are not stretched. It's a bit better right now. Now let's add the number over here. So as you can see, it's always set to 16. I'm gonna click on this this text block. I'm gonna make it is variable, like set this to variable, and call this amount. And then in the event graph, after it's got created, we're gonna add over here a new variable called amount. Or for some reason it doesn't want me to name that. Yes, because I have a text. The text block itself is called amount, so I'm gonna change that to amount text block. Much better, yes. And now I can like name a variable amount. Make this editable and expose it to spawn. And then change this to an integer, compile and save. Leave this as I'm gonna leave this at 1, default of 1. And over here in the event tick, let's do this before it like initializes everything else. So let me drag out the item or amount text block over here and do set text. Oops, like this. Attach this over here. I keep messing up. And attach the amount like that. We do toString over here so that we can append. Do append over here and type in X so that like it shows like the X over here. And attach the amount. If you don't want, just directly attach this to string. If you like don't want the X part, you just attach it like this. For now, but I'm just gonna do this so it looks better. Now that we compile and save, I play and all of them show the correct amount. Actually it doesn't, because we forgot one important detail. And here there's like an amount I forgot to set it over here. So let's go over here in the item required. See, this is a map, so it has 2 arrays inside. So I'm gonna do values. There's a different array called values over here. I'm just gonna attach this before the for each loop like this, and do get from that, get a copy like this, and attach the index over here, and then attach the result into the amount. Compile and save, and let's play. So now if I press play, it shows the amount correctly. And now we want it so that when we craft, it shows like a progress bar on top over here, and once it finishes, it gives you the item. Let me go back to the inventory widget over here. As you can see, there is the crafting thing, and we want it so that it shows like the progress bar on the header over here. Let me Control X this crafting thing and add a horizontal box inside the header, and paste it back, and let me add a progress bar. Yes, like that. The problem is if I place it like this, it won't be proper. You know what? I have a better idea. Instead, let me make this expand so that I can see like that. Instead, I'm gonna put it below this. I think this place is good enough. I don't know why I expanded this. Let me just place a progress bar over here. Where is it? Wrong place. No. Put it in the canvas panel like that, and place it over here so that becomes easier like this. I'm gonna put it like this. You can like decorate to whatever you like, but for now I'm just gonna keep it like this. I'm gonna set the default to this so that I can see how it looks like. I'm gonna change the color to, I don't know, green. Yeah, like that. Now if I open my inventory in the game, it's showing over here like this. This would be invisible when you are not crafting. As soon as you start crafting, this becomes visible and like progresses. Last time we created like 3 variables: crafting timer, is crafting, and currently crafting recipe ID. We didn't use it last time. We just created it for like now. For this crafting timer is for when you start crafting. This is like the number for progressing, and is crafting is basically like will tell you if the player is crafting or not. And the currently crafting recipe ID, it just gives the stores the ID of the recipe that you're currently crafting. We're gonna use it a lot. These three we're gonna use it a lot. So let's start by making it so that this only shows whenever the player is crafting. So we're gonna do this. So we go over here and visibility, create binding, and and just take the player reference, do is valid just in case, and just or wait, let me duplicate this over here. So if it's not valid, I'm just gonna hide it better. And when over here, I'm gonna do is crafting, get is crafting, yes. So we do select over here, select, we do select, or actually it doesn't show over here, so I'm gonna do this select from here, yes, like that. So when if the player is crafting, it becomes visible, and if the player is not crafting, it's gonna be hidden. So when I play, should be visible, should be invisible. See here. Now when I press craft, nothing happens because I haven't done anything to it. And now, before we continue on, let me try to add inside this percent. We do bind, create binding, and this we're gonna add. We're gonna do the same thing over here, but instead of is crafting, we're gonna add the thing is we're crafting here. See, let me show you. We do get player reference is valid, like that. Attach this over here. We're gonna do this all the time, and we need to get timer, the thing that the crafting timer, yes, the crafting timer over here, and also we need to get the recipe, get current recipe, crafting good. Oh my god, can't speak properly. We do get current crafting recipe ID. So I'm just gonna copy this, the one inside the recipe widget. This gets like the information from the thing over here, and just attach this over here, the recipe ID. I'm just gonna remove this and attach this instead. Okay, things are a bit messed up. Let me try to organize. We do this, and the time to craft is the maximum time for the progress bar. So I'm gonna do this divide by time to craft. This right, when you craft, the crafting timer is set to the amount of the time to craft. I mean, it's gonna be set to 0, and then it's slowly gonna increase until it reaches time to craft, and the thing gets disabled, and you get all the items. Now that we made this, we can start working on the mechanics over here. Now let's see over here. We create a custom event over here and call this crafting. I don't know what to call it. Crafting update. Crafting update, much better. Make it so that if it's not crafting, something like this. Let me do this branch. If the player is crafting, increase the crafting timer by the amount of time there is. I'm gonna show you. We do increase. We do get delta time, get world delta seconds. This right now get world delta seconds. As you can see, this we're gonna be placed in event tick. Right now in the actor, do not set the tick interval to be anything else. Let's leave it at 0 so that it won't mess up. And get this crafting timer. We do I mean set, we set it. We do this plus that, and you get crafting timer over here. So it like continuously adds as long as you're crafting. And if, let me do at the end over here, if the crafting timer is equal to, we need to get the amount of time for it needs to craft, so that it would like stop. We need to get the current crafting recipe ID over here. We convert this to string, and then we convert this to name, and do get row, get the table row, like that. Let me move this over there. Now that we did this, you can get the outro over here. We need to go and select the recipe list so that we can access it, and do break over here. Now if the, actually let me do this instead, so that it won't like break on me. I'm gonna do greater or equal, because sometimes it might go beyond, because I haven't planned it over here. We do time to craft. Let me see. As you can see here, this goes in event tick. If the player is crafting, constantly increases all the time. It constantly increases. If the timer reaches to the time to craft, like if the recipe takes like 2 seconds to craft, once it reaches 2 seconds, we stop crafting over here. We stop crafting. Let me like bring this to a better place, because it's kind of small over here. We stop crafting and give all the stuff. We give the result. So now we need to like give the player the item. So in order to do that, we get the crafting result over here. And wait, before we get this, we need to get the inventory. Get the inventory, and the result over here, we're gonna do add. Or over here it's add. We add the crafting result like this. And this, I'm gonna call this crafting timer. We're gonna call it crafting timer. That's all we'll call it. And now we go to the event tick and add a new thing over here. Add the crafting timer thing. Update crafting, yes. So that it would work when you actually play. Now if I play, nothing happens. Absolutely nothing happens. And now, whoops, well, I closed something that we don't need. Okay. We need to head over to the recipe widget over here. And as you can see, we made a button that we didn't do anything with. So I'm gonna call this craft button over here, the naming button, and on clicked, it should check if all the items are inside the inventory. So we're gonna make a new function inside this, inside the player. Call does player have item ? I'm gonna add the ID. This is so that we can use it to check if the player has this item in its inventory before crafting, because you can't craft something if you don't have the items. So we're gonna do item ID like that, and make a boolean over here. A boolean, call it, but I don't have a name for that. Make the function pure, so that it won't need an executable over here. Now we need to loop through the inventory over here. Do for each loop, delete this and attach this over here. Now after this for loop, we need to see over here if it's equal to the element over here. This would return, we need to make a branch over here, and that would return true. So as you can see, it loops through the entire inventory. If it finds anything that's equal to the item ID, basically the same item, it returns true. Otherwise, over here we return false, like this. We go back to the recipe widget over here. So we need to get the player over here. Let me do this. We do cast to first person character. One event construct. We do get player character again. And right click promote variable and call this player underscore ref, so that we can access the player's variables. Over here we do is valid, just in case, as usual. And then we need to like set crafting timer to 0. Actually, we don't need to set this over here. Let me go back over here, and where is the event graph? The thing we created before over here. Once it's like crafted, we need to set the timer to 0. Forgot to do that. It's better to do it here. It's much better. So this right now makes the player craft. Set is crafting. Before we set crafting is true, we need to set the ID. So we do set crafting recipe timer. Nope, not this. Crafting recipe timer. This one. Yes. Set this to this. And the recipe ID is gonna be this. But before we do all that, you need to do this. Actually, let's leave it like this. We don't need to add anything over here. That's all we have to do inside this button. And we need to create like a function, a binding function over and is enabled. This time actually it's is enabled. We do craft binding over here. Create binding. And now it should be enabled only when you are able to craft. As you can see, we made it like a function before. Does item exist? Does player have item? Like that. We made this. And do not attach this directly, it won't work. So we need to do a like massive for loop. So let me go back to the event graph over here. Copy this again. I should really make a function out of this thing. I will do it later, like later episodes. So we attach this over here. Row found over here. Recipe list. In outer make a break. And finally over here we need to make a for loop that checks for all the items. So we need to get this. Oh wait, there is something missing in this does player have item. So we need to also see how much of the item we have. So we need to make a local variable. As you can see behind my webcam, there is like local variable we create over here. We're gonna call it item count. This is only accessible in the function. Make it an integer and leave it as 0. Whenever it finds over here this, let me remove that. We don't need this anymore. Delete that and drag the item count over here. Not like that. We need to drag it and increment over here. Increment integer. So at the end over here we need to like return the item count. Just then type amount over here, amount, and the return over here. Let me show you how. We do select over here, select, make this a boolean, or actually better, instead of a boolean, check over here if the item is greater than, if the amount is greater than 0, means it's true. If it's not, it's false. Like that. It's simple as it gets. Now we have the boolean and the amount. The item ID, before we mess with the item ID, we need to get the we need to get the keys array. So it like gives the array of the items. We do a for each loop over here, for each loop, and we move this slightly over there and do like get the values over here. Can be slightly big, so we need also get the array index over here. We need to get the value actually. Wait, we get the copy of the value and put it as an index over here. Now we know how this shows the amount of items we need of the same item, and over here it shows the item ID. This attached to here is getting slightly big actually. Let me remove this, put this aside. Once this is done over here, we gonna break. Can I break from here? No, actually. I have to create a different for each loop. I have to make for each loop with a break. Like that. Like this. We attach everything back. Like this. Delete the old for each loop. And once this has found all the items, we actually should not break. This part is kind of confusing for me, so I'm gonna try to think about it a bit more before recording. I don't know why I keep doing this. So here returns false. If it doesn't find the item, it immediately returns false. Let me duplicate this return node. If the amount inside the inventory is greater, or actually no, if this is the amount in inventory. So if we see if it's greater than the amount we require, we make another branch over here. If it's greater like this, and when it's false over here, we return the same thing over here. Return node, return false like this, and we'll return to true. We need to make a local variable over here. So we make a local variable and call this checks. I'm gonna call this checks. I don't have a proper name for this, so I'm gonna make this an integer like that. And whenever this becomes, if an item becomes true over here, we're gonna increment it, not like this. We're gonna drag out this checks and do plus plus. Remember, this should be the local variable, not the global one. So once over here, once it completes, I don't know why I set this to break. I'm just gonna leave it like this. If you want, remove the break. I'm doing from the completed over here. We're gonna do a check over here. As you can see, the values has like a length, right? Because it's a variable, we can do a length. And when it's completed, I'm gonna do a branch over here, or actually, yes, let's leave it a branch like that. The length. And now that every time if it shows correctly, it's gonna like increment to by 1. So we're gonna compare the length with the checks. So if you have all the items necessary properly, this check will be equal to the length. If it's like not equal, let me do this. If it's equal like this to the length, here we return true. We should return true like that, and otherwise we should not return anything. Hopefully this works. Let me see. This coconut requires an apple. Wow, this is the most logical thing I've ever seen in my life. So now if I open, I should be able to craft oh wait, I need to grab an apple, not the coconut. This one, I need to grab this. Now we have an apple in our inventory. Yes, now we can craft this coconut. So we do this. Craft like this, and it gives the coconut. But we forgot something really important, is to remove this apple from our inventory. In order to do that, we need to do this. And it's inside the first person character. We need to go to the update thingy over here. Or actually, let's do this inside the inside the recipe widget over here. It's much easier. Not here in the event graph. Inside this. Now we need to remove the items from the inventory. So let's see over here. We need to copy this again. I really need to make a function, but I don't have the proper time to do it. And over here at the end, it needs to remove all the stuff. Not all of it, but I mean all the stuff required. Yes. Here item required. And we need to do from the player ref remove item from inventory. Yes. The item index to remove. Oh boy. So we need to get the inventory over here. Get the whole inventory, get inventory. Like this. Bring it up here. Make a for each loop. And to know what item we should remove, we need to get the keys for the item. Need to get the keys for the item ID here. Actually, let's place it back over here. It's much better. We need multiple for loops inside each other, so we need to do this. For loop for the keys, like that. And do this another one over here, like this. Or is it the opposite direction? I'm gonna put this in the other direction. So remove this and put this over here. Attach this like this. And now we can just do this. As you can see, we grab this. It's equal. If the element of the inventory is equal to this, or actually, yes, we do this and make a branch. We remove the item at this slot, the index of this, like this. Right now it's just gonna remove one. So let me try to make it so that it allows you to remove multiple ones. As you can see, if I play right now, if for example, let me see, find a crafting. See, this apple requires 4 coconuts. I know it's not illogical, it's not a logical thing. It's gonna grab 4 coconuts. Yes, now it's got unlocked over here. If I press this, it removes, somehow it removed 2. Wow. It removed 2 because I made 2 for loops inside each other. I'm not supposed to do that. I have a better idea right now. We need to make a, since this is like a problem right now, we need to make a new function that uses this to like remove like multiple stuff. So we need to do remove item from inventory, and we should not duplicate it actually. Remove item. Okay, remove from inventory by item. So instead of requiring the index, we require the actual item ID. So instead, I'm gonna do this. See here, item ID, like that. We do a for loop, get for loop over here for each loop. If this is like that, let me do this. If this is equal to the element over here, we do remove item from inventory that we have before, like that. Make a branch over here. The branch is necessary, basically an if statement, and attach this index array here. Now we need to return, because if I didn't put this, it's gonna remove every single item that has this ID, whatever ID we just added. So now instead of using remove item from inventory, let me remove this this thing over here. Remove all that stuff we don't need, and get this from the player reference. We do remove item, or not this one. move what do I call it, inventory, remove 4 I misspelled it, but never mind. Move inventory by item, move item from, okay, now we do this, and the ID we just like give it this element over here, and now it got a lot simpler right now. If I try to play it, only and like grab 4 coconuts over here and open this and just craft, it removes only 1, and now we make a regular for loop, not a for each loop, a regular for loop like this. And where is this thing? Let me delete this, we don't need that. Make a space over here and get the values. We do get a copy over here and get the index over here. So now we do this and hopefully this works. I'm just in case, I'm just gonna like print string over here, and when I take like this, like take 4 coconuts and try to craft this apple, print like a billion ones. Let me make sure that something is not broken. I do in string over here. Let me see how many times it actually did it, because I want to make sure that it's bug free. See, I grab 4 coconuts, and if I craft 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, so it took like 5 instead. Yeah, increases by 1 over here, and now this should work. This should work properly. You know what? I'm just gonna add more coconuts over here. So to make sure, I'm just making sure that everything works properly over here, like that. Yes. Oops, not like this. And take all the coconuts. I'm gonna open my inventory and let's grab all of this. We have like 6 coconuts. If I craft this, I should have 2 only. Yes, perfect. And now I'm gonna modify the recipe of the apple so that it has more items instead of just coconut. I need to take 2 beef and 4 coconuts. So let's see. 2 beefs. I'm gonna like grab more than enough. 2 beefs and more than enough of coconuts. So right now I have 4 beef and 6 coconuts. If I craft right now, I should have 2 beef and 2 coconuts. Hopefully this works. Yes, it works properly, perfectly. Now it crafts. As you can see, even if I try to like close the inventory while it's crafting, it should work. Like take these and like this. Let me craft this apple again. Close my inventory. You will not know, but it automatically crafts in the background. See? That's why I made it so that like everything is in the player. As you can see over here in the event graph, the crafting timer is inside the first person character. If I place this in the inventory, the crafting stops and like everything like gets wiped as soon as you close the inventory. We don't want that. So now we made everything. I think that's all for this video. Hopefully guys you understood what I'm trying to when I try to explain, and see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.